Tonight's show is about Mr. Tylyn Blaylock. Tonight's show is about Mr. Tylyn Blaylock. I'm not sure how that name came about. Hopefully, later on he gets an opportunity to counter anything he disagrees with. He'll probably disagree with something. But yeah, this is our man for tonight, Mr. Tylyn Blaylock. He's a man of a lot of hats. He dabbles in a lot of different things. He's dad, husband, musician. He creates apparel, coaches football. Very involved guy. You know, I give him a lot of credit. He and I have not seen eye to eye on everything. We actually probably see eye to eye on a lot of things, on most things. I think that he gets into this mode in his social media persona that takes him to a whole different level. I think he I called Russ Betts right before I started this show, and I talked to him for about 15 minutes on the phone tonight because I wanted to get his take on what Tylyn Blaylock is stirring up attention over, which is his basketball youth program. Sorry, it's hot. I can go through about 4 of these in a summer day. This is hot here. So I talked to Russ Betts, Councilman Russ Betts, right before the show, and he said he doesn't know. He actually said he just saw Tylyn on the road. He said, hey, I just pulled up next to him the other day in his Bronco too, and I tooted the horn. I said, hey, I rolled down the window. I said, hey. And Tylyn kind of, I don't know, he didn't really stop and have a conversation with him. He didn't say, pull over. He didn't tell me he said that, but I think he would have if it had happened. But he told me that, he's open. I mean, Russ Betts' phone number is public. I've got it written right here. You can find it. It's on his card. If you stop by City Hall on weekdays, his phone number's on his card. Okay? So Russ Betts told me some things, but before I get into what Russ Betts told me tonight on the phone, which I'm not going to say, he didn't want to come on. I asked him to come on, but he said he couldn't be clear on what he would say about the Borrego Springs and the youth center. So he wanted to be sure he had all the facts straight before he was going to go public and say some things, because he's very cautious. He's a politician. So, but I can tell you my take on what he told me, and I can tell you some basic things that he would agree with if he was sitting here listening to the room. He'd nod his head that that's true, but he can't say it. So I believe that 90% of what Tylyn does on social media is kind of for show. I don't think that he gets a lot of solutions for the problems. I think 10% of it is solution, and 90% of it is just wheel spinning. It's attention grabbing. It's attractive for people who like to follow drama. And I think that's a game. I think that's a game he plays. I could be wrong, but hopefully later on we can get a chance to hear what he has to say about these things. I just make observations of people, and I apply them to common sense rules. If you've got a problem and you need to deal with it, why air it out in public? I mean, I'm into doing that too, but I will try to air it out in public with the person I have a problem with. Not air it out in public and then say, I'm not talking to that person. Or someone suggests, why don't you call him? They say, he's probably busy or something like that. Well, there's something going on there if the problem just keeps perpetuating and going on and on and on. And I get he's passionate about some things like that. I met Tylyn Blaylock 2 times, and the first time I met him was a couple years ago. I was with my kids over there at Wet and Wild, and he was there for a kid's birthday party for one of his kids' friends. And he and his wife and his kids were there, and I saw him across the park, and I said, "That's Tylyn," because I was a member of his group. And then I left his group, and then I figured I'd go over and break the ice with him and say, "Hey, I know you, I know who you are." And he said, "Yeah, I know who you are." And he said, "You know what? When I kick people out of the group, I may dislike them one day, but I'm their best friend the next day." So, I thought that was interesting that he said that. But one thing I immediately observed was, because I'd been watching Tylyn on his Facebook group, and when I first moved to Desert Hot Springs, his Facebook group had like 200 people. I mean, it was tiny. So he's grown it pretty far since then. And there's a lot of different things to that, which I'm going to get into about his Desert Hot Springs neighborhood group page. But in person, he's very, very different than he is online, especially on his page. Which tells me, in my opinion, a lot of the stuff he does on social media is phony. I mean, it's just, he does not talk the way he writes on social media. He's wanna be with you, and I'm a blast, and I mean, he talks very, very street and urban online, and in person he's "Oh, hey, how you doing? Oh, it's nice to see you." He's just kind of a mild meat kind of guy, kind of a mousy guy. "Hi, how you doing? And, yeah, really? Oh." The second time I met him, and I'll get back to the first time I met him, but the second time I met him was in the parking lot when I was running for mayor, and he was running into Vaughn's with his kids, and he saw him in the parking lot, and he goes, "Hey, how you doing?" I said, "Good." And he's like, I actually wasn't sure if it was him, because I never see him. I hardly ever see him around town. But I was kind of like skeptical. I thought, okay, so it is you. So I said hi, and he's like, "Hey kids, this guy's running for mayor. Isn't that cool?" I mean, I'm not trying to be kind of wimpy with the voice, but that's kind of how he is. And in person, he's just kind of like, "Yeah, oh yeah, good. It's great to see you." I mean, it's like, it's a complete polar reversal of how he is online. Online, he's like, "I'm gonna crush you if you speak out of line." And then you meet him in person, he's just like, this, "Oh, shaking your hand. Yeah, good to see you." So back at Wet and Wild, I told him, I had to leave your group or something like that, or he kicked me out or something like that. And I'm like, he's like, "Come on, join back in. We'll have you back. We'll talk about stuff." So I did that, and then he was going all ballistic on the Colin Kaepernick stuff. When Colin Kaepernick was big, and he went full blown nuts over that story. I mean, this guy jumped from, I couldn't keep up with all causes. He was Dakota Access Pipeline, like going to save the world, and he's like Nike, or not Nike, but Black Lives Matter, and I mean, not to discredit those movements because they are important, but this guy bounced from one to the next, which says something. Okay, when you have a cause and you keep driving, you stick to it, that's one thing, but to just bounce from the next popular cause to the next. I mean, he was on Bernie when Bernie was running. I mean, he just loved Bernie, and I mean, just the flavor of the day for the cause du jour, cause of the day. I mean, it was, I couldn't keep up. So last time I interacted with him online on his page was when he and a friend of his online were talking about, white people are the devil, and he's white. I mean, I think, he looks it, so I don't know. I think that's weird. I'm sorry, but it's just weird to me. I mean, you just ditch your whole heritage and say, "Bye, I'm going with this group." And he said he was just ripping white people apart about the whole during the whole Kaepernick time. And I figured I'd test him out on his page. I said, I'd test him out. So I said, okay. I said, what would you guys take? And I said this in one of my last shows of the build-up. I said, what would you guys take from us to let us off the hook? Let us go. What can we give you to make this better? I think he sensed that I was feeling that way. And, it went maybe like 5 or 6 posts, and he just dumped me right out. And I was like, that's fine, because it was only a matter of time, because, he's just so up and down and all over the place and imbalanced when it comes to consistency. And I think that's a problem for him in this city. And I have causes. I fight for the little guy, and I know of a lot of government programs that are going on that are socially taboo, that you can't talk about, you know? And that's fine with me. People will learn. Sometimes if you present them with certain information, it leads them to the stuff that you can't talk about, and then later on they go, hey, I read about this, and I thought you were crazy, but it's true. So I don't push the stuff that people aren't ready for. It's like trying to push calculus on a 1-year-old. You know, they need to get up to speed a little bit more to be able to understand it. And I'm talking down to people who aren't aware of government programs, because there's Operation Paperclip. There's a whole bunch of them that are Operation Northwoods, you know, where the U.S. government was planning on blowing up their own passenger aircraft and blame it on the Cubans as a pretext to go to war with Cuba. I mean, it's out there. There's stuff that's out there that's declassified that happened. But if you try to tell those people, they say, didn't happen. And I say, well, would you like me to pull up? They say, I don't want to look it up. So anyway, he and I, you know, we see eye to eye on a lot of things. But it seemed like if you come and you kind of venture into his territory of authority and his like little realm of power and control, I mean, he just freaks out and just boots you out. I mean, I remember Tylyn at one point, he posted something that said, when I own this town. I mean, he's got some problem. I mean, he would be great for this town, but he's just so like a Wild Bill Hickok or something with how he addresses everything. And he's got to have some sort of stability. In my opinion, he's got to have some sort of semblance of stability online. I mean, you know, it's just, you can't be all Wile E. Coyote. I mean, all the time. And I've got something here. I was gonna bring it up here. He's just got some baggage, and I hate to see it because I kind of like the guy. I mean, I think he and I get along real well, but this is online. This is Tylyn right here. This is him, like in a security camera. You know, it says crazy neighbor. Be careful, aggressive towards women, disrespectful to people, and a wimp. I won't say the P word, but a wimp. Desert Hot Springs neighborhood. You know, that's him here in some sort of neighborhood I guess he lived in. But he's just, when I say imbalanced, I mean, again, I think his heart's in the right place. His kids were really good. I mean, when I interacted with his kids just for a minute, they're good kids. He's got a nice wife. I've never really said anything to her. But he's just got so much going for him. And maybe this is partially my reach out to say to him, you know, I think you're a good guy, but because I can separate myself from a situation and look at it from the outside. And if I was watching what happened between myself and him, I'd say, you know, you're dealing with a person here who's got some sort of God complex. You know, when I own this city, you know, generally something like that, he said, I would never say anything like that about Desert Hot Springs. You know, it's like this Napoleon kind of, I don't know, some power goes to people's heads, and I don't know if that's his story, but you know, again, I like him, but I care about the city, and he's got a large influence in the city. Now, what I'll move to next is, I won't keep playing this because you can find it online. It's called Crazy Neighbor, posted by last name of Ramirez. So if a person posted on YouTube, their last name's out there, so I don't mind sharing that. But if you, what was I going to get into? Read my notes. Lost my train of thought for a second, but I got pages of notes. I write lots of notes. I wrote that. I would even support him if he ran for city council. I mean, I'm not afraid of any competition because the people will decide, and people can smell BS if they smell it. So, what was I getting into? I was getting into his influence. He's got, I know what I was going to talk about. That's what it is. Okay, paper or plastic, Ford or Chevy, what are the other ones? Vaughn's, Stater Brothers. There's so many things. O'Reilly, AutoZone. I've said these examples to people so many times, okay? People want choices. They want choices because not everybody will fit into one. Everybody won't fit into one type or one box, okay? People start to feel like they have no choice, like they're cornered, and they actually freak out and they act out more. I'm not talking about Tylyn, I'm talking about the general public. The general public, if they are given one choice, even if the choice is painted a different color, they're happy, okay? Even if it's one machine that's painted blue and the other one's painted red, they're like, I want the red one. And that one's like, I won't touch the red one, I want the blue one. And underneath the paint is the same exact machine. Okay, people want a choice. So what I see in Desert Hot Springs on our social media is, I see Tylyn as an alternative to a larger social media group that runs, social media page or group or whatever it is, that runs on in Desert Hot Springs. And that makes me wonder if it's controlled opposition. Okay, and I've felt this way for a long time, and I honestly don't think, and this is, you know, with all due respect to Tylyn Blaylock, I don't think Tylyn's this smart. Okay, I think that he's the kind of person that if he's running some sort of paper or plastic, but it's the same, it's both bags, you know, kind of thing, where it's either Donna's group or his group, and I'm leaving out the rant and rave because they're just another whole other story. But I think when you see the two, you see very similar outcomes. He's now banning people for saying, but you ban people, and then he's like, you're right, gone, you know? So it's like, you know, it's the same thing now. He's got his power trip, and he's doing the same thing. So there's similarities between the two groups. But for some reason, people see what his message is, and that resonates with them. And they're like, that's my guy. Even if I get booted, that's my guy. You know, and then they go over to the other group that's larger, and they say, that's my girl, you know. I relate to that one. So as long as people have choices, you have a more calm over the city. But if people feel like they're only given one choice, they'll revolt, they'll rebel. That's what happens in societies when you don't give them choices. So I do believe that, because at the Wet and Wild theme or amusement park that I was at when I met Tylyn, he told me to my face, he said, the city wants to work with me. The city keeps telling me they want to work with me. He, at the time, he said he didn't want to. But what kinds of things would cause a person, and I'm not saying Tylyn is working with the city. I'm not saying that. I'm only proposing another possibility of what's going on, because they will never tell you if this is what's going on. They will never tell you. They will say this is confidential. And what makes it happen? Money. Money makes it happen. So if somebody like let's say a Tylyn, let's say a Tylyn Bill Bullock, you know, let's call the guy Tylyn Bullock. You know, he goes down and out in his life, and he needs money. Okay, and there are powerful entities that see that he is an alternative site that the city needs people to have. You know, maybe they'll go to work with him. Maybe they'll say, you know, maybe we'll fund a little bit of your basketball. And they'll say, but you know, this is confidential. We're going to work with you here. And what we saw happen with his last run at basketball was he was talking about. He even said, I think it's time to call Burke. You know, I was watching all that at the time, and I'm like, oh man, this is not good. So he cozies up now with people, but he pretends that he doesn't. So I don't know what the real story is. I'm saying it's probably somewhere in the middle, because he wants to build this basketball thing, obviously in his name, and he has to have, you know, some interaction with the city. But why cause so much of a disturbance over all of it? That's what you got to wonder. You got to wonder why he's so disruptive with the whole process. You know, is it because that's what people in his group want to see? I mean, if the apocalypse happened tomorrow, they'd be the first people out in the streets burning everything. I mean, I'm not saying that's Tylyn's group, but I mean, you know, if Tylyn's aggression on his page attracts people, I mean, you got to wonder what kind of people, you know. I'm not saying all of his followers. I think that some people think he's got a good heart and they like him for that. I think some people follow him on his page just because they think he's attractive. He's their type of guy. They like a beard, they like the sunglasses, they like the ponytail. I mean, there's probably a whole gamut of reasons why people follow his page. Some people may like his music, so they follow it just because of his music. Who knows? But either way, he's going to have to start working with the city. But again, you got to wonder, why so much division? Why so much dividing of people? Why so much splitting them and just driving a wedge and saying, you know, hell with this and F the police and all this stuff? I mean, you know, you know that he's alienating some groups when he does that kind of stuff. You know, it's fine to have your opinion, but he talks about, you know, being this activist in this way, and he just takes a wrecking ball to so many other groups. So you got to wonder, is this an outlet for other people to feel like they've got a safe place to go and watch somebody that is just as angry at the system as they are? You know, because this is what this is all about, and I wrote this in my notes. This is all about you. This whole thing is all about you. He's interested in you. He wants you watching. He wants your eyeballs on his page. He wants your likes, your comments. He likes all that stuff. I'm in a longer game. I mean, I do work. I do activism in that way for a longer. I want results to happen years from now and a decade from now. He wants that immediate, you know, attention grabber, you know, and you know, anything to cause the most shocking thing to upset, you know, the people that he targets. So it's a different approach. I can respect it. I can understand it. But there are eyeballs. When I say you, I said there are people that he is trying to attract with what he says and what he posts online. But what I've also noticed about him lately is that he's toned it down a little bit. He's picked some causes that he and remember, this is a guy who was self-proclaimed a public figure. Okay, he wrote himself as a public figure, and I also sent myself something. I don't know if it's on here. That must be on there. Yeah, that was that one. I gotta download it. So public figure. So he calls himself a public figure, and let's see if it's one of these. No, that's YouTube again. Must be on the next one. So he considers himself an influential person in the community in that way. So I say he's open for criticism in those ways, and I'll get into something else real quick, because something else I was watching about his page happened, and it has to do with, let's see if I can pull up that picture. This person right here. This is a fairly new associate of Tylyn's on his page. And I don't take things for face value, ever. Until they're proven that they're face value, I don't take them at face value. I think things are bigger. There are bigger things going on, especially when you talk about running a city. When you talk about commanding the views and the opinions and the viewpoints, the angles of thought in a city, and shaping those and keeping those into a certain corral. I don't take anything for face value at all until it's proven that it's face value. But I don't jump to conclusions. I propose hypotheses that I think might be going on, and I wait to see if those develop before I say for certain that's what I think is happening. But what we saw last year was we saw an ally come into the picture to Mr. Tylyn Blaylock. And that ally is a woman by the name of Emma Rosenthal. And Emma Rosenthal, I looked her up a long time ago, and she's got a lot of online posts. And I'll tell you right now, this woman is very, very, very smart. I saw her in the Home Depot a couple months ago, and I was tempted to go up and talk to her. She was kind of walking real slow through the store, and she was with a gentleman that was kind of behind her. I could tell she's that feminist type. She's got, you know, the man walks behind her. She's in command. She's in control. It's just that aura that comes around somebody, like almost like, if you're not the right man, don't go talking to her, because she'll probably just bite your head off. So that's kind of feeling I got. She may have talked to me, but I didn't. I was in a rush. I had to get some paint and get moving on. But I saw her there, and I was thinking about talking to her. But I'd already looked her up and found out who she was, because I watch people who are on public pages, because again, I don't want to be on anybody's private page. Anybody's private groups, closed groups, I don't want any part of that. Okay, so don't invite me. Don't ask me to be in it. I'm not going in. I have my own thing, and I can learn enough just by observing city council meetings, observing people's behavior on public stuff. There's plenty of public stuff out there for people who are on private and closed groups, they pop out every once in a while and they go on the public groups, they comment, you can see where their thought pattern is, just in their small comments they make on the public stuff. So I don't need to be on any private closed groups. So she came into the picture, and I thought there were some news articles. It was something about, she was writing about from Pasadena, and she writes that in this stuff. You know, her pages show where she lived, where she, not show, but she wrote about it. And one thing that kind of irks me a little bit about this person is that, you know, but not that it irks me that she's aligned with him, because tonight when I posted that I was going to do this show about Tylyn Blaylock, specifically tonight, it wasn't like a matter of minutes, and he's like, Emma Rosenthal, have you seen this? So there's something going on there, and I don't know if she's been brought in as a handler of him, or some kind of coordinator, or she maybe found him and she said, this is somebody that I can nurture because he's got that activist spirit. And when you go into what she posts, you find out that she's driving wedges too. She's got that same spirit of dividing people, and her causes don't have a conclusion. You know, it's like she can't accept. You know, she fights over the Palestinian Jewish conflict that's going on there. She brings that up in a lot of her posts, and to be honest, that's not my strongest point. I don't know enough about that, even though I'm married to a Jew. He aligned himself with this woman who is, I would easily say, probably, I don't know, 50 IQ points higher than Tylyn. I mean, Tylyn's smart, but I don't think he's this smart. I mean, this woman is very, very bright, and so why would somebody with that kind of brightness, why would she align herself with somebody who's so small in the big game? You know, you got to wonder that kind of stuff. And the thing that does irk me about her is that on her pages here, she even like here are her links, and I'll post them later on. You can look through them. It's a public page. I mean, it's not like all I can do is just Google her name and her pages come up. So she doesn't live in the city Desert Hot Springs, but what she does is she likes to boss people around. You know, and that's the same kind of thing. It's this complex of bullying and controlling people, and this I'm going to own this city and you're going to do what I tell you to do. It's BS, man. We're not going to be bullied around, and this part of the reason why I'm calling these people out on this stuff is because you're so mean sometimes to people. So she doesn't live in the city, but if you live in the city and she goes on his page and she backs him up, she'll rip you a whole new one, won't she? Yeah. So she doesn't have a tight. It says right here she lives in the unincorporated part of Desert Hot Springs. You know, she lives between Palm Springs and North Palm Springs and the city of Desert Hot Springs. And I don't know if it says it in this one here, but she does something with urban gardening and all this stuff. Yeah, right here. Dragonfly Desert Farm and Wildlife Habitat is a 2.5-acre desert farm and wildlife habitat between Palm Springs and the incorporated city of Desert Hot Springs in the unincorporated area of Riverside County. So here's a woman who doesn't live in the city, but she tells people who live in the city, you know, what they should and shouldn't be doing all day. And that bugs me. You know, not a lot, but it kind of irks me. So there's several pages here about her, and you kind of gotta have to dig into it and see what her way of thinking is. When I started to look into her, I thought to myself, this is weird. This is another middle-aged woman who's an artist, who's coming into Desert Hot Springs. It's almost like Bizarro, Donna, I don't even know how to say, Donna Lee now? I don't know, she's divorced or something. But it's like a Bizarro version of her. It's like we got another artist, activist, middle-aged woman coming in now who's like hijacking, like stealth hijacking, you know, this activism. She even calls herself an activist on here. You know, you go on her pages and she says she fights for, you know, she always writes disability. I don't know what that means. You know, disabled people or something, you know, living Airbnb, I don't know. It's she does something with, it's very vague. It seems like a lot of stuff. See, like Dragonfly Hill is disability and LGBTQIA affirmative, anti-racist, anti-sexist, anti-imperialist, and decolonialist because anything else is just a band-aid. Listen, if you're going for a garden, you know, you're putting all this anti-imperialist, decolonialist, anything. I mean, you're putting all that stuff on a gardening. I mean, a website about gardening. I mean, there's something more going on here with this lady. So, is she nuts? I don't know, but her stuff is just. What's the point? I don't get it. Cultivating community. I mean, she calls it a collective. You know, and I sent this to myself here. Let's see if it came up on here. Yeah, here it is. Collective. Done by people acting as a group. She's a collectivist. She's into collectivism. Collectivism is just, it's another form, it's another flavor of the Neapolitan ice cream. It's like they're all together. Collectivism, socialism, communism, they're all within there. So you got another quasi-socialist now, just like Tylyn is. I mean, they're taking over, it seems. I mean, I'm not afraid of them, but it's like, can we have any other choices in this city? You know, it's like another one. Here they come again. They're just, I don't get it. I don't get where they're never going to get me to go for it. So don't even bother. But it's just, she calls it a collective, and it's one definition for collective, done by people acting as a group. You know, I mean, these people they're just right out in the open with who they are and what they're into. I think this one was the one here. Yeah, so it's like she's got some studios, photography, construction worker. She's also a small businesswoman and a construction worker. I mean, what's the deal? And I don't want to get too far off of the Tylyn thing here, but I mean, he's like linked arm in arm with this, and I sent this too because it's like, you know, retired happy and author. Donnelly, retired happy and author. You know, it's like here we have another artist, middle-aged artist woman coming in. And then this is the one here, Dragonfly Hill Collective Services we provide, Coachella Valley in Los Angeles. We've relocated the Dragonfly Collective to the Coachella Valley near Desert Hot Springs. We'll continue to have Los Angeles presence. Our new space is 2.5 acre, blah, blah. We already read that. So what's with this lady coming in? What's with this lady coming in? Was there something that happened in the meantime between when she was in Pasadena area, wherever she was, till moving out here? Was there some sort of agreement made? Did she not make an agreement? Did she come out here and find him and just say, this is my avenue to get my stuff out there? Maybe she's planning on bringing her business into the page at some point. But I think she's a pretty aggressive activist. But what's going on between her and Tylyn is my question. So I'm going to get to my thoughts on paper that I have, and we'll let this play. I sent myself a copy of, he had like a little 5-second rap clip. I was going to play it for you, but I can't seem to get it to download or something. So I covered that. He doesn't talk in person like he does online. I talked about the Emma Rosenthal connection. We're waiting to see what that lady's going to develop to be, because she's definitely a Mrs. Bossy Pants, you know, and he's okay with that, obviously. There's definitely an audience for his type of rhetoric, I call it, because it you know, becomes rhetoric at some point when he keeps fighting for these things to change, and it's like, call Russ Betts, let's work it out. Oh, I was going to get into that. Russ Betts. Oh, and then I'll go back to these. What he said about the situation with the court, the basketball court, because I've been following it. I've been trying to hope, you're going to solve it? No, he just wants to keep stirring up trouble, seems like. So what Russ Betts said is that, and I found this also was going on when I went to one of the last city council meetings. By the way, I've never seen Tylyn at a city council meeting, and now I go to a lot of them. Since I ran for mayor, I go to a lot of them, as many as I can. So they said that that whole facility, that whole John Furby Center, I forget the whole name of the whole place, it's going to be given to the city. It's going to be basically given to the city for like $1 or $1,000 or something like that. And that came out at one of the city council meetings. They announced that. But right now, what Russ Betts told me was that it's in the middle of a big tax credit situation. He said there's something like 18 lawyers. He may have been exaggerating, but there's a bunch of lawyers on it trying to figure out. It's got to go from one lawyer to the next. It's got to be handled the proper way. And they contract with Borrego's Springs, I guess it is, Borrego Health and Wellness. This is me not fully understanding. He seemed to understand, but I'm just learning this all for the first time. And what he said was, they do it all for free, which I don't know how that happens. Maybe they're nonprofit. I think they're nonprofit. So they handle it, and they do health services there. But what Russ Betts told me was that the court can be sectioned off from the rest of the place. He said they can have the gym and all that stuff on one side, and nobody can get. You can get into the court, but you can't get into the rest of the building, and vice versa. The rest of the building can get into the building, but they can't get into the court. He said it was designed very well, and they were able to make it that way. And what Russ Betts told me was that he asked the city manager where they're at on it, and the city manager says we're handling it. You know, it's being handled, but I don't know why. That's the short answer, and probably the long one too. Is that it's in a situation where it's kind of a messy point right now. And I found that out in a 10-minute call with Russ Betts, okay? Rather than dragging and airing all the dirty laundry out in public about it, just call the guy, you know? And it may not be the final answer for Tylyn. Maybe he wants more, but, you know, I don't know what there is to accomplish by just dragging it out and beating the subject to death. I mean, it didn't end well last season. I watched it all happen. It did not end well. I mean, there were people really mad, you know, and I'm sorry, but that falls on that guy, the guy with the middle fingers. It falls on him. It's his problem, and that's kind of what he's saying about the problem, is that go, you know what, yourself about things, because I like solutions. I like to build things. I like to build, and while I'm building, I like to see progress happening at a pretty fast pace. So I asked, what does he build? He couldn't even build the basketball thing. It imploded. You know, why does he get this? What is the draw to that for people? What are his fruits that he's bearing for us, for you guys, for whoever? I don't get it. I don't get why it has to be so divisive, such a failure, and be. Let's go back and put this back up. Why it has to be such a failure, and he's still so popular. You know, I mean, do people like seeing people who don't build stuff not build more? I mean, you know, to not work through the problem, I've said it before at the beginning of this show, to not fix the problem, to not work through it is still an answer. That's still something. So when something is not getting worked through, you got to wonder if it's intentional. It's either incompetence or it's intentional. Either he doesn't know how to work through it, or he's not working through it on purpose. It's one or the other. And I'm a strong believer in that anymore. So I called Russ Betts. He told me, he's like, I don't know. I don't know. I barely talked to the guy. He's like, you know, that's what he told me. Yeah, so I'm not going to speak for him. I just want to get to the point that it sounds to me like that makes the most sense. Is that, you know, that the basketball court and the whole facility is in the process of transition. That makes sense to me. Russ Betts didn't say that, but I kind of feel that's what's going on. It's obviously in a transition. It was just awarded to the city, but they've got to work through the legal side of it yet. It's not finalized yet, but it's announced. It's going to be in the hands of the city. And I filled out an application back when I was running for mayor to use the senior center, and that was a process. I worked through it. Turns out they couldn't have political events there, which is fine, but I worked through it went to Mizell Center. They looked at it. It goes through a process. You got to wonder if it's him. You know, is he ever going to say, it's me? It's me. They don't want to work with me because I'm too off the charts ballistic about, 90% of the time about things that I don't like. Maybe it's him. You know, I don't know if he would admit that or not. I kind of think he wouldn't. But, especially in public, he's going to have to save face in public. Because I'll tell you, if he trashes you online and then you see him in public, he's going to be like, hey, how you doing? Yeah, good to see you. Oh, really good. Yeah, I'm doing great. Yeah, nice to see you. That's what he's going to be in public. So, I don't know. So, if he was that way online a little bit, maybe, he'd warm up to people. Or maybe, but I'm just speculating. So, there's an audience. We talked about that. He latches onto a community that is already built. Yeah, he does that. He does that. That's why he jumps on the coattails of the Dakota Access Pipeline while that was all war was going on. Again, what does he build? What is the movement that he builds? You know, he jumped on the Black Lives Matter, rode that until it was, off the news cycle, and then he just What does he build? I look for builders, but I analyze people who have failures, and I say, why do they keep failing? Again, it's either intentional or it's incompetence. Either he can't build anything, or he's intentionally not building stuff. So you got to wonder that. He fights for causes. Yeah, we talked about that. Any way you look at it, he's causing division. That's any way you look at it. That's the outcome and the result of a lot of his social work on activism, and I don't think that's long-term good for the city. Maybe he's playing some sort of game with some larger group, and they're encouraging him. He's got to keep this going here because there's an appetite for that in Desert Hot Springs. And again, the overall picture, the overall view of the city, it's healthier for the powers that be if people feel like they have a voice speaking for them. Maybe if he wasn't there, the city would get more flack. I don't know. But I can look at it that way, and I can analyze it, and I can see that as a possibility. We talked about paper, plastic, Ford or Chevy, Tylyn's group, Donna's group. It's like you've got to have a choice, so here's your choice. That's another thing I noticed is that if you go into the member lists of these groups and you look at the member lists, at least 50% of the people don't even live in Desert Hot Springs. I mean, they're from all over the world. There's people in like foreign countries that like are on his page, on all those public pages, or even closed groups and closed pages. There's people from all over the world that follow. I mean, there's people in Mexico. There's, and it's like to see 20-something hundred people. It's not that in Desert Hot Springs. It's half that from Desert Hot Springs. Now the other people from other countries, they probably have family here, or they may have owned a property here. So it's a way of them checking in to see if there's any big news in the city, like if there's a house that burned down and they have Facebook on in Pakistan, for example, and they get a post on that page and says house burned, and they say, oh, where? I got a house on Cactus, and then it's on the other side of the city. So they can keep tabs in the city. I get it, okay? But as far as active participants in a page, way, way, way low. I found that with like my main Desert Hot Springs page you're on, somewhere around a quarter. Okay, the total number of people that are on the page, the number of people that actually see your posts are like a quarter, like 25% of your people. So if you got 1,000 people, you're only getting about 250 people that are actually engaging or looking at, or even just kind of scrolls through their feed. That's it. You're not getting the full. If he says 20-something hundred people, he's not getting that. I promise you, he's getting a quarter of that, or maybe a little bit more, but right around a quarter. So that's the way that works. Very, very factual based. Unless you're paying, then you can get. So you can get a lot of people, and you can also get a lot of people on a page like his if you sponsor an ad and send it all over the world and get people to like your page. People in group are from I'm talking about all over the world because they get bored in their own area. Yeah, that was the reason why you get people who live in Cathedral City. It's like there's nothing going on in this city. I'm gonna join some other cities groups. They're just looking for entertainment. So there's a lot of different reasons why people will join a Desert Hot Springs group for their own reasons, and one of them might be it gets dull at times. Even if you're a member of like 57 groups, at times it's like you've read it all. It's like, what else new? So you go join another group looking for some new entertainment, new people talking. So you don't think that 20-something hundred people are all Tylyn's friends. So we have a common. What does that say? I can't read my own writing. Yeah, everything does makes us fight with each other. I talked about that. I know he won't talk about me because he doesn't want to send attention my way. Okay, I wrote that down. That's one of the interesting things to me also about people is that if if you leave on a bad note with people, like when I ended up leaving his group, what people like him, I found, maybe not him, but like people will do in his position is they'll just act like I'm not there. It's like, what did Ross Perot say recently when he died? They played some clips from him dying. He said something like, he said, I'm like the old crazy aunt in the basement. He's like, everybody knows I'm there, but nobody wants to talk about her. You know, and that's me. You know, I'm like the crazy aunt in the basement that everybody knows I'm here, but it's like, don't know what you're talking about. Don't know what you're talking about. Who? Steve R.G.? No. Anywho, let's change the subject. So, you know, what he does is he seems to not draw. We're not talk about that. Why? Because it also keeps more spotlight on him, and he seems to be into the attention. He seems to like it, which to me is a bit of a red flag. I do this to get information out, and I'm having fun doing a spotlight on a resident tonight. So I hope you're enjoying it. I hope you're entertained by this. I was in his group, and he had around 200 people. I'll talk about that. I think that you're going to see come next election time. Again, I talked about it. I love to see him run. I don't know if he can. I don't know if maybe he's got something holding him back. But I want more. I would love it if, never going to happen. But if 20 people ran, I would love it. Not never going to happen. I wouldn't say that. I'm never going to have 100 people. But I would love it. The more people, the better. That hurts the establishment. So their establishment, they'll when they think they can beat one opponent, all the other ones they'll pull away, and they'll let their star player go up against an opponent they think they can win. And that's what happened last election with Mattis and myself. There were others, I believe, that were going to jump in and pretend. If I didn't jump in, there were others going to pretend, I want to change the city, but then they'll just hand it to Mattis. So there's that kind of gaming going on. But I think more people makes it harder for the people who are in power to stay in power. You get more people to run. Just bombard the groups. This next election, anybody you should run for city council, run for mayor. I want a lot of competition. I want it all. Because then it's a better feeling of satisfaction if you win. Okay, and then you beat a lot of people. You didn't beat just one person. I was in his group when he had around 200 people. Talked about that. Come election time was my note. Come election time, I believe he'll align with the city's choices. That's what I believe. I believe he talks a good talk, but then when it comes down to it, he won't want anybody who's really going to change anything. And I really want to change things, but I'm telling you, I don't think he's going to go for anybody like me. Half not in DHS, talked about that. There are posts of him taking videos of his neighbors. Yeah, I saw that at some point too. I couldn't find it tonight, but there are where is it here? There's some sort of, I saw somewhere there were some videos that somebody took. I guess they lived next door to him, and they took a video out the window with a curtain pulled back, and it's like what's that thing where you pull the curtain back and there's somebody right there looking at you. He's out there in his truck with his camera, like filming the person. So he's just something unsteady that he always has drama, it seems like, going on. Maybe he creates it, I don't know, but it was funny. I'll see if I can find them and dig them up and post them on this a link under this video. But wherever he goes, it seems to be there's just this bundle of drama where he's recording you and you're recording him, and he's like, I'm gonna get you, and he's flipping people off. It's just weird. I thought those were funny videos. He's backing out sitting in his car and his camera's right there. Weird. Post of him. Yeah, we talked about that. So let's do something here. Let's call Tylyn and see if he picks up. All right, Tylyn, if you're watching, call this number. Call 760-671-5627. Anybody call. Talk about Tylyn. I'm going to give it a few minutes. But I want Tylyn, because I got a stack of questions here for Tylyn. I said I was going to try to give Tylyn a chance to respond. So Tylyn, if you're out there, you're watching, or if you know Tylyn, call for Tylyn. If you're Tylyn's mom, call. Tell me Tylyn's a good boy. 760-671-5627 is the number. And I will... His number is public, by the way. He puts it on his Tylyn, this is the show, The Build Up, calling you tonight. I was featuring you as my first person on my series that I want to create of, hear that rap? For a series I want to create of spotlighting public people, and it's good people, anybody who's really public. So, Tylyn, call me back, 760-671-5627. So, what do you think? Call. Talk about Tylyn. Wouldn't it be funny if Donald Lee called and talked about Tylyn? That'd be funny. Where did Lee come from? Lee's like an Asian name, isn't it? I think she's from Croatia. So, give it a minute, and then maybe we'll just have to end the show. Why do people not call? Why is that? I'd be like the first to call. Are you afraid of being on the air? Are you afraid of being recorded for the rest of time, going into the vault of history? Got my football jersey on again. There's the sirens. Boy, he hates those cops, doesn't he? Tylyn just does not like those cops. Let me try to give him a ring again. I'd be very nice to him on the phone. Give him a chance to speak. I won't even argue with him. I guess he's not into it tonight. So, what else do we have? I'll go over the questions I have for him. I was going to ask him. Maybe he can respond online. That'd be nice. So Tylyn Blaylock. First thing I would ask is, what do you build? What are you a builder of? What are you building? I mean, I think he's socially trying to build people. I think he's trying to socially build like warriors. I mean, that's fine. I'm an activist. I've been to a lot of different activism rallies. So what is he building? Okay, what are you trying to build in this world? You know, I'm trying to be a force for good, or I'm trying to do this, whatever. Whatever his answer would be, I'd take it. I accept it. Second question I would ask him is, are you a socialist? And if he is, that's fine. If he's not, that's fine too. Whatever. I'm just asking these questions. Are you a cop hater? That would be my third question. Do you hate cops? And I think he'd probably say, it's kind of, it's a gray area. You know, I don't like him for this, but I don't like that. You know, and that's fine. Those are my questions for him. So, he's got time to call me. Go through the questions real quick. Not that many. And maybe he can give an answer. Maybe you can give answers for him. And maybe he can like it or something. Are you being nice right now to play possum? Because what I think is happening, I think that because I've been doing this and I'm gaining some attention from some important people, and someone who's kind of feeding me a little bit of stuff is telling me that they're watching what I'm doing, and they're watching my videos, and they're watching I think he's kind of saying the establishment. I think that there's a lot of attention being brought right now to what city government's doing in Desert Hot Springs, and I'm loving that because it can only force them to do a better job. With more light, you can see more stuff. So I'm shining light on some stuff. And I think he's kind of being nice now. And I think what it has to do with is, I think there's a momentum building. I mean, we already have a bunch of people running for president right now. I mean, it's like a huge field, and they're doing debates and blah blah blah. I mean, it's way early, but there's an appetite right now for political activism and movements and things like that. So I think he's toned down some of his aggressiveness on his causes, because I think he's trying to again, it's like with Black Lives Matter, just like with the Dakota Access Pipeline, he's trying to ride the coattails of that heartbeat right now. I think he's trying to take advantage of that movement so that he also is a voice in it, to draw in people and say and act like he created it. Not even say he's created it, but I think he sees he might be missing something that's going on if he's not politically active, because he just recently started talking about, and that's why I had to do this show right away. He just recently started talking about, who's running for city council, and he's testing the waters there, and I believe he's very much a sandbagger is what they call it. A sandbagger. What's a full definition of a sandbagger? You know, they don't build something. You know, it's a definition. Sandbagger, one who uses a sand. Oh, no, that's not it. They basically, yeah. Oh. To set up, to thwart a cause or fail to reject a specialist. You know, they it's like if you ran a race, you know, they draft you. You know, they'd be like running behind you to let you block the wind. They just basically take the easiest route. Like you'll do 9 laps, and on the last lap they'll sneak in, they'll cross the finish line ahead of you and say they won. You know, it's like I don't want to say cheater, but it's like that kind of spirit. Like he didn't build the movement if it's happening, but he wants to be part of it now because you know he sees that it's going on and time is fleeting, and he better get going with it because if he waits too long, then too many people will go with one way and they won't go on him. So have you produced music for major productions? I was going to ask him. Have you done anything that we've all heard? And because he talks about, I saw him post something that said that his stuff is like done. It's like he produces music that goes on tracks that or something like that where you wouldn't know it's his, or it's like underlying stuff, or I was just gonna ask him about his music, so I can't resist. So you've seen me 4 times. Try to call him. What laws do you respect? Would be a question. I would say, what laws do you respect? Because there's something about.
Thank you for calling. Please leave a message and you will get back.
Why? Why not pick up? What laws do you respect is what I would ask. Because he kind of gives off that attitude that some laws are unjust or unconstitutional or whatever. And I'm with him on some of the cop stuff. There's driver's licenses and stuff like that. I kind of lean towards there's nothing really that says we have to do that. But if I want to make a change in this world, I can't make it from prison. I can't make it from a jail cell. So I got to play along with the system. Even if I disagree with some of the things to a point. I don't play along with credit. I drive old cars because I will not have a car loan. I'm totally debt free. I don't owe anybody anything. Whatever I generate this month, that's all I owe. That's it. So the system can be fought in ways where you're not like jeopardizing. So I was going to ask him, what laws do you respect? And then what does someone need to do to get booted from your group? I was interested to find out what things they would have to do to get booted, because I think that's as an administrator of a group, I think it's important to know what rules you'd break to get kicked out. What does someone need to do? Okay, why do you call yourself a public figure? As I said, he's got himself listed as a public figure, online, in a certain spot. And the last thing I was going to ask him, why are you anti-Christian? That's what I was going to ask him. So those are my questions for him. Maybe if he gets a hold of me, I can ask him. I don't do anything in private. I'm not gonna do what he said, she said. If I see him on the face, I'm not gonna run from him. On the street, I'm not gonna run from him. But any kind of like interview like this, I would do it with on camera, my own version of it. That way you can't twist any words. I'm in this for the long run. This is what I'm gonna do, and this is what I'm going to keep doing. And you're gonna find that I'm gonna interview people who are willing to. I've already done 2. I had Eddie Johnson here. I had somebody else live right here in my studio. So I will do it on the phone. I will do it in the studio here. Some people I probably wouldn't have come to my home. I don't think I'd have him come to my home. But I'll do somebody who can't make it. I'll do it live on the phone. I already did a phone in. I called an activist, a medical freedom activist, and talked to her on the phone. Okay, so I'll do this, and this is what I'm going to do. So beware that there's going to be more of these, and there's going to be some nice people too, some people who don't make any waves, but they're large figures. Somebody I have in mind I'm going to approach, and I think it'd be nice to do a spotlight on that person. I'm always honest, and you'll always find that about me. I'm just going to be honest with you, how I feel and what I think. So we'll go out with a little bit of not Thai beats, but some sort of beats. So, Tylyn Blaylock, this episode is for you. So, please try to talk like you do in person. It's just weird. I'm a bee right. I know you're related to the community. I don't meet you in person. It's totally fake. Anyway. Alright, that's my episode of Spotlight on a Citizen. Until next time, I will see you around. newsandhs.com.